Net neutrality has become a major issue, you will recall, because Google and Verizon have proposed a framework whereby the FCC would not regulate the wireless internet, which would allow big companies like Google and Verizon to play favorites as to who and what gets the fastest, easiest pipeline. But the FCC could, under at least one reading of its authority, ensure that net neutrality extends to the wireless internet as well as to the wired internet. Let's call in the managing editor of thinkprogress.com, Amanda Terkel. Amanda, good evening.
Hi, thanks for having me.
These 35 Tea Party groups write a letter against net neutrality, but wouldn't, if you explain this fairly carefully to actual Tea Partiers, whoever they might be, wouldn't they want net neutrality, if only as protection against getting their own websites bypassed or priced out?
So I couldn't believe when I read this letter. I thought it was opposite day on the internet or something. I mean, net neutrality is so good for the Tea Parties. It's largely how the Tea Parties came about, because you can access their site just as quickly and get information from it as quickly as you can from CNN and the New York Times. So they're completely shooting themselves in the foot, and net neutrality is something the Tea Party should be fighting for.
And in fact, without net neutrality, I mean, the Tea Party as an example is one thing, and a practicality is one thing, but as a precursor, doesn't the internet become far less hospitable to any kind of grassroots movement in the future if there is no net neutrality, if there is, in fact, are different lanes, speeds, prices?
Absolutely. Without net neutrality, what is that a small Tea Party group in some state in the country will decide to start a website, but it may be slower because they don't have the money to pay the internet service providers to make their site go faster. So you won't be able to go to their site as quickly, and you'll probably get frustrated and won't go, and you'll go to one of the large corporations that are able to pay to make their site go quicker. So net neutrality is all about preserving free speech, and net neutrality is really good for the Tea Parties. Without net neutrality, the Tea Party would not have been able to get its message out as quickly.
So how are they selling this to their own members, that this is, what is the benefit, to them? Since it's about them, what is the benefit to somebody in a Tea Party to eliminate net neutrality other than some sort of symbolic us versus them victory that they don't really understand? Is there any pitch to their own membership?
Well, there are a lot of pitches that are completely wrong. Glenn Beck is saying it's a Marxist plot to take over the internet. They're saying it's a big government intrusion, but honestly, government has always had to step in to protect Americans' rights. I'm sure if someone was trying to take away guns of Tea Party's members, they would want the government to step in and say, you can't do that. Or if some private citizen was saying the Tea Partiers can't protest and speak out against the government, the Tea Party would want the police, which is part of the government, to step in and say that you can. So government has always had to step in and protect free speech and Americans' rights.
By the way, for the Marxist, Marx is dead and he was a lousy thinker. This argument, though, against net neutrality lumps this issue into the aversion of big government. It frames it as another instance of supposed overreach from Obama, and it claims that it's infringement of free speech. Which of those arguments could be the most potent politically, do you think?
Well, I'm going to choose none of the above, Keith, because I just think all of these are completely ridiculous. If you sit down with any Tea Party member and say, look, do you like the internet the way it is? Well, then you should go for net neutrality. Do you want to be able to access your Tea Party websites for free, or do you want to have them go slower because you don't have the money to pay an internet service provider to make them go faster? I think this is very clear-cut, that we need the government to step in and make sure that these corporations who want to line their pockets can't just step in and mess with what the internet has been like for Americans so far.
Lastly and quickly, Amanda, is this going to fit into the midterms in some way, classic left-right, or is it more complicated than that?
It shouldn't fit into the midterms. It's a completely bipartisan issue. We have MoveOn.org and SEIU on the left supporting net neutrality, and we also have the Gun Owners of America and the Christian Coalition on the right supporting it, so it's completely bipartisan.
Except for the Tea Party. Amanda Terkel, the managing editor of thinkprogress.org. Good to see you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.